When I collapsed at work, the doctors called my parents. They never came. Instead, my sister tagged me in a photo family day without the drama. I said nothing. Days later, still weak and hooked to machines, I saw 74 missed calls and a text from Dad, "We need you." Answer immediately. Without thinking twice, I saw the post. I saw the beach, the smiles, the tag, healing. And right on cue, my phone, dark for 3 days, exploded. It didn't just buzz, it screamed. Over 80 missed calls, a wall of texts. But it was the last one, the one from my father, Frank, that made the air in the room feel thin. 5 words, "We need you." Answer immediately. I didn't cry. I didn't feel panic. I didn't even feel angry. I felt clear, a cold, sharp clarity. They weren't calling because they were worried. They were calling because their ATM was offline. I didn't call them back. I scrolled past Frank, past Cassandra, past Patricia, until I found the name I needed. Uncle Marcus. He picked up on the second ring. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just said, "Which hospital?" He arrived an hour later. He didn't bring flowers or apologies for them. He brought a tablet and a thermos of black coffee. He stood at the foot of my hospital bed for a long moment, taking in the monitors and the IV drip. "Well," he said, his voice quiet, "they finally pushed you too far, kid." I just nodded. "Help me," I said. "Help me cut the lines." He pulled up a chair. We didn't talk about feelings. We opened my banking app. We opened my spreadsheets. This wasn't family therapy. This was an audit. First, Cassandra's car, the one she insisted she needed for her brand. A $1,500 a month payment. My payment. I looked at the auto transfer. Marcus just raised an eyebrow. I tapped cancel. Second Brooke startup. A $2,000 a month investment into her failed candle company, her failed jewelry line, her failed whatever it was this month. I tapped cancel. Third, the joint family credit card, the one that was supposed to be for emergencies only, but somehow always had a balance filled with restaurant tabs and spa days. I looked at the balance, saw the recent charges from Miami. I tapped freeze account. With every click, I felt a wire disconnecting. Not from them, but from the person I used to be. The fixer, the emergency fund. I wasn't their daughter. I was a line item. And I had just zeroed out the balance. You have to understand, this wasn't a sudden decision. It was a pressure valve releasing years of weight. My title was data analyst, but my real job was family emergency fund. I was the fixer, the reliable one, the one they called when the spreadsheet didn't add up. I remember 3 years ago my father Frank calling me. His voice was quiet, embarrassed. The bank was foreclosing on the house. They were 2 weeks from losing it. I didn't hesitate. I drained my savings, every penny I had, and paid the back taxes. He said thanks, and we never spoke of it again. Then there was Brooke, my younger sister, who had a new passion every 6 months. First it was artisanal candles, then a drop-shipping boutique. Each time it required a $2,000 loan to get off the ground. Each time it failed, and I was the one who quietly paid off the credit card debt she'd racked up. And Cassandra, my older sister, the influencer. Her entire life was a performance funded by me, the sponsored trips to Miami, the luxury car she needed for her brand. I was the one paying the $1,500 monthly note on it. I did it because I believed that's what family was supposed to do. You show up, you fix, you support, you don't keep score. But sitting in that hospital room, I realized they were keeping score. And in their ledger, my worth was exactly equal to my utility. People ask, Leah, why did you let it happen? Why did you stay? You think it's weakness. You think you would have walked away sooner. But you don't understand the prison of the fixer. It's an invisible cage. The bars aren't made of steel. They're made of guilt obligation. And that desperate, quiet hope that if you just fix one more thing, they will finally see you. They will finally value you. It's not weakness. It's a survival mechanism. You become the family's load-bearing wall, terrified that if you move, if you say no, the whole structure will collapse and it will be your fault. You carry the weight, not because you're strong, but because you've been convinced you'll be worthless if you don't. That was my life. I was a survivor trapped in a role I never applied for. But the woman who woke up in that hospital, the one who saw that Instagram post, she wasn't a survivor anymore. She was just done. The silence lasted exactly 4. Then the attack began. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't offensive. First, Cassandra. Her call wasn't a question. It was a demand. Leah, my car payment was just declined. My payment, the one that's tied to my brand. Fix it right now. I didn't say anything. I just listened to her breathing, that sharp, impatient huff she does when she's not getting her way. Did you hear me? I have a brand meeting. If I can't drive my car, I lose that deal. You're messing with my livelihood. I said, that sounds like a personal problem. Cassandra and I hung up. Next was my mother, Patricia. She tried a different tactic. Tears. Leah, honey, I don't know what's going on, but you've created a terrible mess, she sobbed. Your father is beside himself. You're not answering his calls. You've cut off Brooke. You're being cruel, Leah. This isn't you. You're right, I said. The old me is unavailable. I hung up on her too. Then came the public escalation. Frank, my father, posted on Facebook. He didn't tag me, but he didn't have to. It's a sad day when your own children forget who raised them. We've given them everything, and this is the thanks we get, praying for our family in this difficult time. The comments flooded in, thinking of you, Frank. So sorry you're going through this. Family should always come first. I watched the sympathy pour in for the man who hadn't even bothered to call his daughter in the hospital. But this was just the overture. The real campaign started a day later. I got a text from my Aunt Patricia's sister. Leah, I heard about what happened. Your mother told me you had a breakdown, that you're not well. Please, whatever is going on, don't punish your family like this. They're just trying to help you. A breakdown. So that was the narrative. I wasn't setting boundaries. I was unstable. I wasn't protecting myself. I was punishing them. It was brilliant in its own toxic way. They weren't just denying what they did. They were rewriting the story, entirely casting me as the mentally fragile, erratic villain and themselves as the long-suffering, worried family. I saw the texts pop up in our extended family group chat. Brooke, we're all so worried about Leah. She's not herself. Cassandra, please respect our privacy as we try to get her the help she needs. They weren't just trying to get the money back. They were trying to discredit me. They were building a case not just in the court of public opinion, but a real one. They were laying the groundwork to prove I was incompetent, that I was a danger to myself. They weren't just angry I'd cut them off. They were angry I'd taken away their power, and they were coming to take it back. This was no longer a smear campaign. This was a strategy. They weren't just trying to make me look bad. They were trying to make me look incompetent. The emotional breakdown, the erratic behavior, The crying for help, this was calculated language. They weren't just trying to win back their allowance. They were trying to build a case that I was mentally unfit to make my own decisions. I called Marcus. They're trying to paint me as crazy, I said. My voice was flat clinical. He was quiet for a second. Of course they are, Leah. That's the only play they have left. When you can't control someone, you discredit them. Don't worry. I know a lawyer. She eats people like this for breakfast. We met her the next day. Her name was Julia. She wasn't warm. She was precise. Her office was sharp clean and smelled faintly of old books and steel. I laid it all out. The hospital stay, the Miami Post, the 80 missed calls, the canceled payments, the Facebook posts from my father, the texts from my aunt. Julia listened, taking notes, her face impassive. They're building a narrative that I'm unstable, I finished, that I'm a danger to myself. Julia looked up from her notes. Are you? No, I'm just done. Good. Now what assets are we protecting? You mentioned they're ranting about a family trust. I shrugged. It's not really a trust. It's just my personal savings account. I set it up years ago, and I told them I'd put money aside for a family emergency fund so they'd stop asking me for handouts every other week. I've been managing it. Julia's eyes narrowed. You've been managing it, or you've been funding it. Funding it. It's all my money. It's what they called it. She typed something into her computer, then swiveled the monitor to face me. Leah, I've just pulled the incorporation records for your county. An hour ago, your sister Cassandra filed a petition for an emergency hearing seeking temporary control of the Leah Miller Family Trust, a trust that doesn't legally exist, citing severe emotional distress and financial mismanagement on your part. My blood ran cold. They didn't just say I was unstable, I whispered. They're trying to prove it in court. This is no longer a family dispute, Leah Julia said, her voice like ice. This is attempted fraud. They are using your medical crisis as a pretext to steal your money. She turned back to her computer. So we will respond in kind. I watched her type for 10 minutes. Her fingers were a blur. She wasn't writing a letter. She was crafting a weapon. We will file an immediate response, she said, including a copy of your medical evaluation, stating you are of sound mind and a full financial disclosure, proving that this trust is in fact your private personal savings account. She hit print. And then, she said, picking up the phone, we send them this. A formal cease and desist ordering Frank, Patricia, Cassandra, and Brooke to immediately stop their campaign of defamation. If they post one more thing, one single text, we file for harassment. I took the paper she handed me. It wasn't a family drama anymore. It was a legal battle. And the lines had just been drawn. The lawyer's cease and desist letter landed with a thud. For 48 hours there was silence. No calls, no angry Facebook posts, no vague threatening texts. It was the kind of quiet that feels less like peace and more like a held breath. And then on Wednesday night, Cassandra decided to speak her truth. She didn't just post, she produced. It was a full-blown 9-minute tell-all video. She was sitting on her pristine white couch makeup, perfectly smudged tears welling up in her eyes as she looked directly into the camera. She talked about how much she loved me, how this sudden change in my personality had broken her heart. She used all the right words: unstable, erratic, tragic, breakdown. She painted a picture of a woman, me, who had become financially and emotionally reckless, a danger to herself. She talked about how the family was desperately trying to get me help, but that I was lashing out and how my actions were tearing them all apart. She cried. She dabbed her eyes. She even managed a brave little smile as she said, "I don't know who this person is, but I just want my sister back." It was a masterpiece of manipulation, and it worked. The comments section flooded with sympathy for her. "You are so brave for sharing this, Cassandra. Praying for your family. It's so hard when a loved one won't accept help." I felt sick. She was painting me as the villain, and she was doing it so well that people believed her. I sent the link to Julia, my lawyer, mostly just to document the breach of the cease and desist. Julia called me back 10 minutes later. Her voice wasn't the calm, professional tone I was used to. It was sharp, cold. "Leah," she said, "I need you to watch the video again at exactly 3 minutes and 42 seconds. What's in the background over her left shoulder?" I pulled it up on my laptop. It was just her home office setup. Her laptop was open on the desk behind her. "It's just her computer," I said. "I took a screenshot and enlarged it," Julia said. She thought she was just filming her truth, but she forgot to check her open tabs. My heart stopped. I zoomed in on the grainy image. Julia's voice was like ice. She's crying about being financially devastated by your erratic behavior. But on her screen is an email confirmation for a first-class flight. Miami to LA booked 2 days ago. I couldn't breathe. But she's always... It gets worse, Leah. Look at the payment method. I zoomed in again, my hands shaking. The text was blurred, but just clear enough to read. Paid in full via emergency visa. Card ending in 8,842. It was my card. Not the joint family card I'd frozen. It was my personal medical emergency card. The one I had given her years ago with the explicit ironclad instruction that it was only to be used if I was in a hospital unconscious and needed someone to pay for medical care. She had used it to buy a first-class ticket to LA while I was in the hospital. And then she'd cried on camera about how my actions were hurting her. She wasn't just ungrateful. She wasn't just entitled. She was a thief. And in a stunning act of narcissistic arrogance, she had just provided the world with the high-resolution, time-stamped, undeniable proof of her own crime. Julia didn't even call me. She just acted. She sent the screenshot, the time-stamped link to the video, and a brief lethal summary of the credit card fraud to Cassandra's brand partners. All of them. The collapse was immediate. It was absolute. The first sponsor, a high-end skincare line, dropped her within an hour. They posted a public statement about reviewing their partnerships to ensure they align with values of integrity. By noon, 3 more had followed. Her livelihood, as she called it, evaporated before the end of the business day. Frank's downfall was quieter, but just as final. Julia sent the evidence packet, the Miami Instagram post, the bank statements, the fraudulent trust petition, and Cassandra's video to his company's HR department and their head of legal. He was fired by 5 p.m. The company cited a gross misalignment with company ethics and a clear pattern of financial misconduct. They didn't just show up at my apartment. They materialized. All 4 of them. I saw them from my window piling out of Frank's car. They looked wrecked. Patricia's eyes were red and swollen. Frank looked gray, diminished. Cassandra was wearing sunglasses in the evening, trying to hide. This time, I opened the door. My mother, Patricia, practically fell forward. "Leah, please," she begged. The anger was gone, replaced by a raw, pathetic desperation. "Please, we're losing everything. Cassandra's sponsors are gone. Your father lost his job. You have to fix this. You have to call them, tell them it was a misunderstanding." I looked at them. The 4 people who had left me to collapse, who had mocked me from Miami, who had tried to have me declared mentally incompetent, they weren't here to apologize. They were here for a repair. They were here for the fixer. I can't fix this, I said. My voice was calm. Yes, you can, Brooke cried out. You're the only one who can. Just put the money back. Tell everyone you were just stressed. I let the silence hang in the air for a moment. Then I reached inside and picked up an envelope from my desk. I already have, I said. I handed the legal document to my mother. This is a formal offer. I am offering to purchase the family home from you at its current market value. A flash of hope sparked in Frank's eyes before I continued. I will, however, be deducting the $250,000 you currently owe me in back payments, fraudulent charges, and defaulted loans. According to the assessor, that will leave you with nothing. But the debt will be cleared. You'll be free. Patricia stared at the paper, her hand shaking. This is insane. It's not insane, Mom, I said. It's accounting. I looked at all of them one by one. You have 24 hours to accept the offer. After that, I instruct my lawyer to pursue full criminal charges against Cassandra for credit card fraud. Leah, you can't, my father started. I just looked at him. Goodbye, Frank. I closed the door quietly and locked the deadbolt. I didn't watch them leave. I stood there listening to their muffled, frantic arguing on the other side of the door, and I realized the truth about families like mine. They build their entire sense of power on a foundation of money, other people's money. They're not strong. They're just leveraged. Their status, their confidence, their social standing, their perfect family image, it was all a performance, a show, a house of cards, bought and paid for with my compassion. They weren't a family. They were a shell company. They hadn't built their power. They had only borrowed it. And when the real owner, me, finally called in the debt, there was nothing left. They weren't just broke. They were empty. They took the offer. Of course they did. They had no choice. The house was sold in less than a week. The lawyers handled everything. The debts were cleared, the accounts were settled, and the family was officially dissolved as a business entity. Uncle Marcus and I packed up our lives. We didn't go far, just far enough. We found a small cabin in Colorado, nestled in the mountains where the air is so clean it almost hurts to breathe in. It's quiet here. The only notifications I get are the sound of the wind moving through the pine trees. This morning I made coffee and sat on the porch looking at the mountains. I opened my laptop one last time and pulled up that old spreadsheet, the family debt tracker. I looked at the final number, the hundreds of thousands of dollars I'd poured into a black hole. All that time, all that energy, all that hope, all quantified in one single devastating number. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I just felt done. I highlighted the cell, and I hit delete. It's hard, to cut ties with the people who are supposed to be your anchor. We're taught that blood is everything, that loyalty to family is a virtue above all others. But that loyalty becomes a weapon when the people demanding it are the ones causing the most harm. I finally learned that walking away from a toxic family isn't an act of betrayal. It's not cruelty. It's a profound, necessary act of self-preservation. It's the moment you finally stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. It's the moment you choose to find your own family, even if that just means finding yourself. If this story resonated with you, share it. Let others know they aren't alone in the fight for peace.